Hello, my name is Sven. In this video, I am building a house inspired by a building in Skyrim. This video is sponsored by G-Portal. Get 5% off your G-Portal service by clicking the link in the descriptions. A lot of you were asking me to build something from Skyrim, and you mentioned my previous Conan Exiles speed build, assembling the College of Winterhold. Meanwhile, while you guys were saying that, here I was building the Jarl Falkreath's house. It might not be as spectacular as Winterhold, Whiterun, the Imperial City, but I really like this house design a lot. In fact, I like it so much that I built it not just once in games before, and not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times. No, of course, I'm just kidding. This is gonna be the 10th time that I'm making this house into a speed build. Actually, the first speed build that I ever made, was a version of this house in Minecraft. The house wasn't as wide as the Skyrim one, but it was based on the same general idea of a shape. If you look closely, you can see that the foundations I lay here are similar. There's one huge square making up the build, and then in front of that, kind of a little smaller square thing, and in front of that, a smaller square, which is the front entrance. In this build, I had triangles on one side to try to make the whole build a little less boxy, and you know how I hate boxes. Pause the video and count it yourself if you wanna build it. Should be pretty easy. The second video that I made from this style being very similar to the one that I'm making right now, except that the one that I'm making right now is way better. I really wanted to make something improved because I liked the initial design of the video on the picture here, but I really wasn't satisfied with it, and I thought I could do way better. One of the things that's really cool in this one is that actually, I realized the stormglass frames works quite well with windows, even for other building pieces than stormglass. Like for example, right now it's right next to insulated wood. Initially I wanted to do flotsam because, you know, it's new, but it didn't really fit very well with stormglass because flotsam looks very ugly, poor people, you know, that sort of stuff. While stormglass is like, oh, glorious, you know, yay, cathedral, gothic, epic. So that's why I went with insulated wood instead, because insulated wood looks super refined. A little too refined actually. If you have too many of them, it starts looking like a chessboard because it's all just like really like pretty looking squares, you know, and wood, I like when wood looks a little bit ugly, right? It has more character when it's ugly. On this build here, I used yamatai foundations. They looked really nice. On the previous Conan Exiles one, I had sandstone foundations, which looks okay, gives it kind of a grounded feel, but yamatai looks really nice. Later in the build, I would have the yamatai foundations go all the way to the top of the house, in the top floor, to make sort of a variety for the build, and it ended up looking really nice. It is also worth mentioning the frames and the walls were facing inwards because I like them facing inwards better. I like that side of them. When they're facing outwards, there's too many weird details. For example, the insulated wood has those like knobs, and also I like the color better on the inside. And also stormglass, both the wall and the frame is totally flat on the inside, and I like that better. The roofs that I'm making here is with flotsam. I would eventually actually replace that with thatch, something that fits a lot better with the rest of the building pieces here, for a sort of Viking Skyrim style. I do, however, really like the shapes of the flotsam, and I really wish that I could have stuck with this for this build, because they are bending in a very interesting way that makes it look very natural. It makes it feel like when you're looking at the building, it fits with the nature of the game. It makes it almost feel like it's an in-game structure. With the 45-degree angle roofs, it looks like kind of boxy. It doesn't really look that natural. So I really like those two new building pieces because they both have a feeling of fitting with the world. The third video where I made the Jarl Falkreath's house was in the game Wildlands actually. Here you can see the entire feel of the build. Despite the shapes being very similar, the feel is totally different. This is all red and white, it's like a Spanish villa. It looks modern, it looks refined, not a rough, modern Viking house. Modern Viking house? What am I saying? Not Viking house, not modern. This is where I realized this style can be used in many different ways. These shapes, they looked nice in the old Viking stuff and new, more modern looking stuff. I was significantly more satisfied with this version actually than all the previous versions. And it doesn't matter to me really which game it is, because at the end of the day, each game has its own strong quality, and when trying to build something good, I try to utilize the game's full potential. And all games has their strong sides, and they're not all the same. The next one of these builds, which I was also really happy with, was from Ark Survival Evolved. You may have heard about that game. And it was one of the first Ark builds that I ever made. I like the variety in both the roofs and the walls. So the roofs are made of different types of roofs. The walls are made of different types of wood. I mean, some of the wood is inside out, some of the wood is outside in. The inside out wood looks really nice next to the outside wood, which is a really cool thing about Ark, that you can have stone and adobe and wood and inside out wood all next to each other, and it looks really nice together. In Conan Exiles, there's a lot more different kinds of building pieces, but in Ark you can both paint and also everything fits together. In Conan Exiles I often feel like the building pieces don't fit together, like for example stormglass and flotsam is like, no. And that is because in Conan Exiles, all the building pieces look epic by themselves, basically. Like, you only need stormglass, really, because with stormglass you'll have gold and black and window, and you'll also have a very detailed roof, so you don't really need to introduce other building pieces. But in Ark, everything kind of looks very simple, and you kind of need to have a big combination of things. You don't really need that in Conan Exiles. Another time where I built this in a less Viking style was in Fortnite Creative. Yay! The video completely, absolutely murdered the YouTube algorithm. It was dormant for like 3 months, generating a couple thousand views, then suddenly out of nowhere, BAM! 3 million views in 3 days. That was when I realized the true power of this house and understood that my purpose in life was to build that exact house over and over and over and over until the whole world see its glory. Just kidding. Not kidding, not at all. I decided for everyone to see the spectacle of a house once more when I made it on top of the Titanosaurus. Bam! 3 million views again. My lucky charm is working. And through this day, 1 year later, it still generates more views on a daily basis than any other of my videos, even new ones. Which is actually kind of sad now that I think about it. Just kidding again. The really sad part, however, is that Minecraft does not have Titanosauruses. Conan Exiles does not have Titanosauruses. So when I made this in Minecraft, there was no backs to put it on. I did make a speed build, however, just with a lot of different types of blocks and that sort of thing, making it look entirely different again. Not like a Viking house, more like a villa, a mansion. But you can clearly see that it's made by the same design. The ground has a big square, then in front there's kind of a smaller stair, which shares the same roof as the bigger square. And then on top of that roof there's kind of like a walkway on the second floor. And then in front of that there's another little square, which is the entrance. And on top of the entrance there's kind of a bigger roof. Actually, on this build that I'm making right now, that roof, I made it a little bit taller, just for a little bit of variety, you know. Variety! I love variety! For the next one I got a great idea. Building it on a dinosaur again, except this time in Fortnite. It actually turned out really cool, I think. That one was a miniature compared to all the other ones of this house, actually. Because that one was the biggest dinosaur that I can find. Not very big, actually. You can't really see this very clearly from the picture, but it's very small. Well, it's not very small, but it's smaller than the other ones. And of course, I know you all like calling paid on me, and I wanted to make that house small enough to fit on his back and not break his back. For now. And finally, they left you to die. No, wait, that was another line. Finally, I made this in Grounded. In Grounded, you actually can't fly in creative mode. What? Imagine that! A creative mode where you can't fly. What we take for granted, eh? Anyways, it did turn out pretty cool. The building pieces in Grounded are plants and sticks, and it makes for a pretty cute design for your builds, if you like cute. Unfortunately, that's pretty much it in that game. I quickly moved building in that game, felt like no matter what I built, it had the same general feel to it. So I didn't feel like I had much more creativity to draw from there. And on top of that, when building large things, the game would lag a lot. It would take you like 7 seconds to remove a single item, and I'm not even joking. So this has been the journey of the Jarl of Falkreath, the Skyrim house. I have now shared with you my ultimate secret behind the channel's epic, amazing success. If you want to see this build be built 20 more times, 30 more times, 40 more times, make sure you subscribe. Now it is time for the showcase.